700 years ago, a poet sat alone in the dark and wrote the answer to your biggest problem. Decades later, scientists built brain scanners trying to find the same answer. They found it. It was identical. Here's what both of them discovered. You are not being controlled by your life. You are being controlled by something invisible, something happening right now inside your chest. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what it is and how to take it back. Stay with me, because the moment most people close this video is the moment right before everything changes. Picture this. You wake up late. Traffic. Someone cuts you off. You arrive at work already tense. A coworker says one sentence criticizing your work, and your entire day collapses. Not because of the traffic, not because of the coworker, because of what happened in 0.07 seconds inside your brain. Neuroscientists call it amygdala hijacking. Your brain's alarm system fires before your rational mind even wakes up. In that fraction of a second, it decides, threat, react, now. And suddenly you're not thinking, you're reacting. You say things you regret. You make decisions you will undo tomorrow. You close doors you spent years opening. Here's what nobody tells you. The most expensive mistakes in your life didn't come from lack of intelligence. They came from unmanaged emotion. Rumi saw this in the 13th century without a single MRI machine. The fire of anger, desire, and greed roams the world like an unsheathed sword. An unsheathed sword, not a shield, not a tool. A weapon that cuts its owner first. We do not control our lives by controlling external events. We control our lives by controlling our inner state in response to those events.
Part 2. Rumi's view of the emotional world. Rumi did not see emotions as enemies. He saw them as messengers. In the Masnavi, he writes, "Every emotion is a guide sent to teach you something." Anger shows where a boundary was crossed. Sadness shows what needs healing. Fear shows where growth is possible. Envy shows where desire is hidden. Joy shows what aligns with your nature. But Rumi also warned, when emotions dominate the mind, clarity disappears. He used the metaphor of muddy water. When emotions stir fiercely, the water of the heart becomes cloudy. Let the mud settle, and clarity will return. This is essentially a 13th century description of mindfulness, letting the storm settle so you can see with wisdom again. Rumi never taught people to push emotions away. He taught them to understand emotions and transform them. Observation, reflection, understanding, patience, surrendering the ego. Not suppression.
Part 3. Modern science meets ancient wisdom. In the 1970s, a molecular biologist at MIT named John Kabat-Zinn began an experiment. He took meditation practices, some 2,500 years old, and ran them through clinical trials. Then, neuroscientists put meditators inside MRI machines. What they found shocked them. 8 weeks of mindfulness practice physically thickened the prefrontal cortex, the rational brain, while the amygdala shrank. You can literally reshape your brain. Not metaphorically, not spiritually, physically. When water arrives, the substitute is gone. Bring the water, release the substitute. The water is awareness. The substitute is unconscious reaction. When awareness arrives, reaction dissolves. Rumi said it in verse. Kabat-Zinn proved it in a lab. Same truth, different centuries. Mindfulness is not mystical. It is neurological training. It increases emotional awareness, self-control, patience, clarity, and compassion. Basically, everything that leads to emotional mastery.
Part 4. Why emotional mastery is the #1 success skill nobody teaches you. Schools teach math. Careers teach skills. Society teaches hustle. Nobody teaches you what to do when fear paralyzes you before a big decision. Nobody teaches you what to do when anger destroys a relationship you built for years. Nobody teaches you what to do when anxiety is louder than your ambition. And yet, every successful person you admire has one thing in common. They are not emotionally empty. They are emotionally skilled. You can't sustain discipline if every uncomfortable feeling sends you to your phone. You can't lead people if your mood changes with every criticism. You can't take risks if fear has veto power over every decision. You can't stay consistent if your emotional state controls your output. Emotional mastery is not just spiritual wisdom. It is a competitive advantage in real life. Silence is the ocean of wisdom. Speech is just its foam. The people reacting loudly to everything, they are the foam. The people who pause, observe, and choose, they are the ocean. Be the ocean.
Part 5. The Inner Map. Understanding your emotions. Before you can manage emotions, you must understand them. Most people think emotions happen to them, but emotions follow a predictable cycle. First, a trigger, an external event or internal thought. Then, interpretation. Your mind assigns meaning to it. Then, an emotion. Heart rate shifts, body changes, mood moves. Then, an impulse, the urge to act. And finally, the reaction, what you actually do. Rumi emphasized the step between emotion and reaction. He taught that transformation happens in the pause. If you can pause before reacting, you will see the truth. Mindfulness teaches the exact same thing. The space between emotion and action is where mastery lives.
Part 6. The 4 emotions that govern your life. Anger. Psychologically, anger is a secondary emotion. It almost always comes from pain, fear, or a sense of injustice. Rumi says, anger is fire. It burns you first. Mindfulness teaches, anger is not the problem. Your reaction to anger is the problem. Fear. Fear protects you, but more often, it blocks you. Rumi says, your deepest fear hides your deepest treasure. Mindfulness teaches, observe fear. Do not obey it blindly. Sadness. Sadness signals loss or unmet need. Rumi says, sorrow prepares you for joy. Sadness is a teacher, not a punishment. Anxiety. Anxiety is fear of the future, living in a moment that hasn't arrived. Rumi says, why are you anxious? You are chasing tomorrow while standing in today. Mindfulness teaches, return to the present moment. These 4 emotions drive most destructive behaviors, but with awareness, they become sources of strength.
Understand. Find the message. Emotions always carry meaning. Ask, is this emotion old? Is it fear? Is it an unmet need? Is it fatigue? Is it a misunderstanding? Rumi, the wound is the place where the light enters. Understanding dissolves intensity. Step 4. Respond. Choose conscious action. Now, from clarity, decide what to do. Not what fear tells you, not what ego demands, not what the old pattern commands. What does your wisest self choose? Rumi, act from your center, not from your fear. That is mastery. Part 8. The 90-second secret. Save this part.
Seriously. Neuroscientist Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor discovered something that changes everything. An emotion, physiologically, lasts only 90 seconds. 90 seconds. After that, if it continues, you are feeding it. With thoughts, with stories, with replays. He always does this. I knew this would happen. Everything is ruined. These are not observations. They are gasoline. The practice. When emotion spikes, stop adding narrative. Just breathe. Observe. Let 90 seconds pass. Most of the time, the storm passes on its own. Stop feeding the fire. The thirst itself becomes the source. This grounds the nervous system and clears emotional chaos within minutes. The anchor technique. Choose one word: peace, patience, clarity, love, presence. Repeat it silently during emotional storms. It becomes an internal compass, a signal to your nervous system that you are safe. Rumi's practice of letting go. Rumi says, release what does not serve your soul. This means not attaching your identity to your emotions. You feel them, but you are not defined by them. Part 10. Managing specific emotions. Anger, when you are criticized unfairly. Before reacting, ask, is this anger coming from pride or from pain? Take 3 deep breaths. Feel the anger in your body. Avoid speaking for 10 seconds. Then choose a calm response. This one pause prevents most emotional explosions. Fear, when you want to begin something new. Rumi, run toward what awakens you, not away from what frightens you. Identify the fear clearly. Break the goal into small steps. Act despite the discomfort. Fear becomes smaller every single time you walk through it. Anxiety, when you are lost in the future. Rumi, return to the place where your feet stand. Breathe slowly. Feel your body. Name 3 things you can see, hear, and touch. You just pulled your nervous system back into the present moment. Sadness, when life feels heavy. Rumi, sorrow digs the well from which joy will rise. Allow the sadness. Observe it with compassion. Then write down the unmet need behind it. Sadness processed with awareness becomes wisdom. Sadness avoided becomes something much harder to carry. Part 11. Building an emotionally intelligent identity. Emotional mastery does not require perfection. It requires awareness and growth. An emotionally intelligent person understands their emotions and expresses them in healthy ways. They avoid impulsive reactions. They listen deeply. They practice patience. They forgive, not because the other person deserves it, but because they deserve to be free. They know their triggers. They set boundaries. They stay calm in crisis. They make thoughtful decisions. Rumi describes this person as one whose heart is the ocean, deep, calm, and full of pearls. This is the foundation of emotional leadership. Not the loudest person in the room, the deepest. Part 12. The hidden link between emotional mastery and success. Success is built on emotional skills. Better decisions, because clarity replaces emotional impulse. Stronger relationships, because you listen more and react less. Higher resilience, because failures don't break you. Consistency and discipline, because you work even when unmotivated. Confidence, because you trust your ability to handle what comes. Creativity, because a calm mind generates new ideas. Leadership, because people trust those who are emotionally stable. Focus,
because you are not distracted by internal storms. Rumi states it directly: master your emotions, or they will master your destiny. Success is not about controlling the world. It is about controlling your inner world.
Chapter 13. The Daily 10-Minute Practice. Screenshot this. Do it for 21 days. Minute 1. Sit and breathe. 3 slow, deep breaths. Nothing else. Minute 2. Set your intention. Say to yourself, today I choose awareness over reaction. Minutes 3 through 5. Body scan. Move your attention slowly from head to feet. Notice, release. Minutes 6 and 7. Emotional check-in. Ask, what am I feeling right now? Where is it in my body? Minute 8. One line from Rumi. Sit with it. Let it land. Don't analyze, just feel it. Minutes 9 and 10. Visualize. See yourself calm, centered, and choosing wisely during one difficult moment today. This is not meditation for spirituality. This is neurological maintenance, like brushing your teeth, but for your emotional brain.
Final message: becoming the master of your inner world. If you take one thing from everything you just heard, let it be this: emotions are not your enemy. They are your teachers, your allies, your compass. But only when you learn to observe them, understand them, and respond to them wisely. Rumi says, your task is not to seek control over life. Your task is to transform your inner world so that life cannot control you. Mindfulness echoes the same truth. Peace is not found by changing the world. Peace is found by changing how you relate to your inner experience. When you combine Rumi's spiritual depth with mindfulness's practical science, you gain the ability to stay calm in storms, choose clarity over chaos, act with purpose, and grow from every challenge. Emotional mastery is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of your true power. Because when you master your emotions, you master your decisions. When you master your decisions, you master your actions. When you master your actions, you master your life. And that is the true essence of success.